The start of the Occupy Wall Street movement, highlighting unpunished crimes on Wall Street and the problem of wealth inequality in the United States. A new study by economists Emmanuel Saez and Thomas Piketty shows that the Occupy movement and its message are still very relevant to today. That's because, according to this new research, the top 10% of income earners in the United States took home more than half of all the income in the country. That's the highest level ever recorded in the last century. But that's not all. The top 1%, just 1% of Americans took home a fifth of all the income earned by all Americans. That, too, is one of the highest levels of inequality ever measured in the last 100 years. Now, this chart clearly shows that since the 1980s, it's been good times for the super wealthy in the United States. But what's behind this, and what effect is this inequality having on our economy as well as our social fabric? Well, here to answer that is Richard Eskow, Senior Fellow at the Campaign for America's Future. Richard, nice to talk with you again.
Good to be here, sir.
The last time the income share of the top 1% was close to this high was before the Great Depression in 1929 and before the Great Recession in 2008. Should that be a warning sign? And what is it about too much wealth concentrated at the top that drives economic crises?
Well, there are slow crises and fast crises, and when you have too much wealth at the top, the slow crisis is that everyone else's income is stagnating, there aren't enough jobs, there isn't enough money circulating for people to buy the goods and services that they want and need, so that leads to unemployment. That's a slow crisis. The connection between this concentration of wealth and the kind of immediate crisis you're talking about, whether it's the Great Depression or the recession, is the nature of the wealth that gets concentrated at the top, which is wealth from stocks, wealth from speculation, wealth from highly risky financial investments. So usually when you see an enormous concentration of wealth at the top, it means that we're accumulating that kind of wealth, which is very volatile and very risky. And that's what we've seen. That's what we saw before the Great Crash. We saw a lot of speculation, bubbles in the stock market, a lot of gambling. We saw a lot of that again after the deregulation of the 90s in the mortgage securities market and the derivatives market and elsewhere. And what this is telling us now when we see this accumulation happening again, two things.